Hello there. We're just past 7:30 a.m. in Singapore, and you're watching Asia First.
These are the headlines that we are tracking. Gulf countries on high alert as Iran launches several waves of drone and missile strikes across the region. Iran's Foreign Minister Abbas Araghchi tells NBC his country is not asking for a ceasefire from the US and Israel, and that he sees no reason to negotiate after nearly a week of war.
Israel says it's moving to the next phase of the war with Iran, warning of further dismantling the regime and its military capabilities, while President Donald Trump voices support for a possible Kurdish offensive, seeking to destabilize the country's governing system internally.
Plus, evacuation flights for foreign nationals based in the Middle East pick up pace, even as chaos grips the region's main aviation corridors amid a widening war. For more, let's speak with Aaron David Miller. He's Senior Fellow at the American Statecraft Program at the Carnegie Endowment for International Peace. Mr. Miller, also a former U.S. State Department Middle East analyst and a negotiator in several Republican and Democratic administration. He joins us from D.C. this morning. Aaron, thank you very much for joining us. I think it's probably a good time to look at this whole question of logistics, which has come up again as one of the many facets, of this ongoing and widening conflict. I'm wondering at this point, what you think the Gulf cooperation countries might do. They are angry, but that hasn't deterred Iran from attacking and continuing to launch drone strikes. I'm wondering whether or not, as they run low on interceptors, are they going to look at possibly expanding their military's roles, from a defensive posture to a more aggressive posture, maybe even, launching strikes on Iran's missiles and launchers, for example?
Yeah. Neutrality for the Gulf states have not paid off, clearly. The détente rapprochement with Iran has failed and didn't spare Gulf states from Iran's response to American strikes. Look, I think rhetorically, diplomatically, key Gulf states can toughen their posture. But it seems to me for the Gulf states to actively join in a coordinated fashion beyond defensive preparations seems to me, at least at this stage, unlikely. Should the Iranians attack infrastructure in a sustained and serious way, desalinization plants, power grids, and a major strike on oil infrastructure, it might change the calculation. But look, geography is destiny here. And the Gulf states suffer from proximity to a country that is far more powerful than they. And I think this war has fundamentally deepened and will continue to deepen their dependence on the United States. I mean, without the United States, well, I think you know what the consequences would be. So no, I don't think the Gulf states are looking to actively participate in strikes against Iran, but I think you'll see a toughening of the rhetoric and of the diplomacy.
Aaron, what we're hearing as well is European countries, France, Italy, the UK, sending their forces into the region. The French sending an aircraft carrier, and others like Mark Carney saying that he's not ruling out participation by Canada. So, all this coming despite earlier reservations. I mean, is this a change of heart, or is it really just, these countries, the bloc, being drawn in, whether they like it or not?
I mean, I think if you're if you're Keir Starmer, or you're sitting on top of a constituency that perceives you to be drifting with no control, no involvement, no strategy, even for protecting your own citizens, then it seems to me you'd want to get ahead of the curve, and that's what they're doing. Now, are they there to complement the United States' military activities? Perhaps. The Brits have moved from not wanting the U.S. to use their bases to now allowing them to do so. But again, the amount of firepower, the escalation dominance that the United States has right now, combined with what the Israelis are doing, I don't expect the Europeans to play a major role in air and missile strikes against Iran. But I think at this stage, they understand this is going to go on for quite a while. And I think they're better off trying to get ahead of this than simply to sit around like a potted plant waiting for some terrible event to which they'd have to respond. So I think it's smart, and it's a balanced approach.
And Aaron, I want to talk about Israel now. Critics saying that the country's strikes inside Iran are starting to look less like limited self-defense, more like an effort to actually destabilize the regime. So there's already scrutiny, as we know, in Israel after Gaza. How risky is Israel's approach here? And when you look at its parallel strategy in Lebanon, does this begin to resemble the kind of campaign that we saw against Hamas?
I don't see the risk factor here, frankly. I mean, if you look at the pattern of Iranian drone and ballistic missile launches, they started off heavy, but now they've diminished. I just listened to a briefing by Admiral Cooper and Secretary of Defense, Pete Hegseth. The Admiral claimed that drones are down, 80% from the start of the war on February 28th? Ballistic missiles down 90%. The Israelis are now resuming, I think, Sunday repatriation flights. Their air defense systems have prevented, plus Iranian problems with command and control, have presented large swarms and salvos of strikes. So I don't think there's much risk here for the Israelis. As far as their strategy, look, they're trying to do in the several weeks that remain, I suspect, on this with this campaign, everything they possibly can do, aside from undermining Iran's capacity to project its power with ballistic missiles. They're trying to damage the instruments of repression, to try to create as much confusion and chaos, and maybe, just maybe, although it's hard to see right now, fracture the Iranian security services. So you really do get a sense that the regime is losing control. And I think that's definitely part of the American strategy. The president has toggled back and forth, regime change, no regime change. But today he came on and said he needed to play a role in selecting the next Iranian supreme leader. If that doesn't sound like regime change, I don't know what is.
All right, Aaron, I know you're out of time, so we leave it there, and we thank you so much for talking to us on the show today. Aaron David Miller, a senior fellow at the American Statecraft program.
Thanks so much for having me.
At the Carnegie Endowment for International Peace. Once again, thank you. Mr. Miller is also a former U.S. State Department Middle East analyst and served as negotiator in Republican and Democratic administrations.